With new technologies arriving in virtual and augmented reality, marketing is also moving from storytelling into story living to engage your customers and experience your brands. Would you like to know how? Listen to this interview with Cathy Hackl. Cathy, you are known as a futurist and a top women globally speaking and experience this virtual and augmented reality. You also wrote a book which is called Marketing New Realities, teaching companies how to apply this amazing technology in branding and marketing. I would like to speak about this later. And you work with a number of different companies, helping them in industrial, in commercial, in educational fields, and even in some cinematography. So, in which fields do you believe, which areas are more receptive to this amazing technology, and which areas will benefit the most today?
Well, definitely the enterprise, I would say the enterprise side of things, when it comes to training, when it comes to manufacturing, those are the sides that right now are a lot more open to augmented reality and virtual reality kind of coming in to disrupt what they're doing, but in a very positive way. So you're definitely seeing a lot of investment, both from the hardware side and the content side in the enterprise side of things. So enterprise has many, many different verticals, obviously, but that's where you've seen a lot. And then also entertainment, I would say, whether it's sports, movies, there's also been a very big, let's say, excitement around emerging technologies in the entertainment side. So we're just seeing a lot, I think, a lot of different companies starting to think about virtual reality and augmented reality, or some of them already implementing it more so on the enterprise side.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, cinematography has always been very futuristic and always very receptive. And I do believe, yes, I do agree on the enterprise level, on the maintenance, warehouse, what and how they can use the augmented reality, really like to see the process that the machine or the screen tells them, okay, what's next? Next stage. And this is impressive.
And you know what? I think also journalism, whether it's TV or print, has also embraced these technologies. You know, the New York Times has a whole section in their app with augmented reality, virtual reality. During the last World Cup, you would see all these holograms, all this augmented reality. So definitely, I also see the media as being one of the sectors where these technologies are embraced and pushed forward.
Okay, sounds great. You also been working on some project in education. So do you believe that the whole approach in education using these amazing technologies will change drastically?
I think so. I think these technologies are going to allow students to learn in a completely different way, in a way that might be a lot more interactive. Instead of staring at a book, they're actually inside a story. And we're starting to use the term, moving away from the idea of storytelling, of just telling something to someone, to the idea of showing them and having them experience it themselves. So that concept of storytelling to story living can have a very, very critical impact in the way students learn. So definitely you'll be seeing a shift. You'll be seeing more and more schools start to integrate, whether it's college level, whether it's primary, secondary. You're going to start to see them integrate more of these technologies into the curriculum to amplify what students are learning and actually make them live, that lesson, instead of just being something that they passively take in.
I mean, totally agree with you, correct. Because so that you kind of engage them into this experience, especially probably science and, it could be geography and history. It's like they live inside that particular chapter.
Yeah, an example is instead of learning about, instead of learning about a different country on a book and a flat map, why not put on a headset and be transported into what the streets of that country look like
before.
Completely different, right? It's a completely different learning experience.
Totally. Now we're here in Switzerland and we have, of course, lots of innovators here, engineers. We also have luxury watchmaking and jewelry production. And I would say that they're very conventional, very classical here in Switzerland. I went to the latest edition of SEHH. It's a watchmaking exhibit here in Geneva. I haven't seen any single hologram. Not a single hologram. So I said, for me, I believe that they should be like the first one, very receptive. do you think that they are a perfect example for applying these technologies in AR and VR?
Completely. I think that, that's a perfect example of a type of industry that should be embracing these technologies, because they're industry with many, hundreds of years of history, but that need to kind of start keeping up to date with innovation and technology. And using these technologies, bring them into the fold of how they tell their story, how they engage with customers, makes sense for them to keep up with innovation. So definitely, I think it'd be incredibly useful for them to start using these technologies.
Okay. Now, speaking about your book, Marketing New Realities, I believe it's the only book in the market that is teaching how to apply these technologies in branding and marketing. So what is your advice to communicators and marketers today in this respect?
One of the first things, definitely, if you're interested, go look at the book, not just because I wrote it, but because one of the reasons we wrote it is to educate. So if you're a marketer and you have lots of questions and you don't want to ask them because you feel, someone's going to think, I'm not smart or something, use the book. The book is to answer those questions. Okay, so ask questions, educate yourself, start experimenting with these things. There's plenty of free tools out there to allow you to experiment with some of these things. Use your phone, start to play with Snapchat, Instagram, and try to figure out, just simple ways to use these technologies. So definitely, educate yourself, ask questions, play around with the technology. I think that's important. If you don't have access to, let's say, augmented reality or virtual reality, try to find somewhere in your city that might have these. There's lots of, let's say, libraries or innovation centers or events, conferences, where you might be able to put a headset on and experience this. Seek it out, because it's going to be incredibly important in the future of marketing.
Yes, and I think it's not only education for children, for students, for younger generation, but also education for brands, for executives to understand and kind of catch up with this technology. And as you know, MIT is building the whole new complex to teach technology, because saying we're not just want to give you the major, IT is goes along, as you need to be technologically educated nowadays. So the bottom line here, as you said, is moving from storytelling to story living and engaging these customers into your brands, in your story, especially when you launch new products, I would say.
Agree.
Yes, totally. We know this tsunami is arriving, right? And I think the faster people educate themselves, brands educate themselves, the faster they will really embrace and benefit from this technology.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The faster they embrace it, the faster they educate themselves, the better off they're going to be in the future, and they're not going to be left behind.
Correct. How can people find your book, Marketing New Realities, and how can they connect with you online?
Definitely. You can find the book on Amazon, and you can purchase it through Kindle or in physical form. So, check it out on Amazon. And then if they want to connect with me, LinkedIn is really my main place. So feel free to send me a LinkedIn connection request, or, follow me. And I share lots of, let's say, futuristic content of what I see in the technology world there.
Thank you, Cathy. And I follow you on LinkedIn. You always make a very interesting posts. You are all over, and you know everything that is happening in the world of technology, augmented and virtual reality. Thank you. Thank you for watching this interview with Cathy Hackl from Atlanta. And stay tuned to our next interview of Insight Tomorrow with Yelena.